Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter, and I love to draw. I love intricate, abstract, Zentangly, entangled kinds of designs in pen and ink more than anything. And also, having been a science teacher and occasionally taught art towards the end of my teaching career for many, many years, I love to try to help people and explain or describe what's going on, giving hints and tips and encouraging you to draw and draw with me, but to also embrace what makes your work unique and yours. So, with no further ado, let's have a look at what I've got here. A couple of things. This is my Entangled Samplers book, which I've actually added a fair bit more paper to, but I will want to add more. But I got to my limit of cutting and punching it recently, but I've got enough there to keep me going for a wee while. I've been doing another version here, and I've got this area here left to do on this one, but as this is the official one, I've got this one to do, and I'm going to do that today. But I want to show you before I do that, these two tiles. Yeah, they're tiles. They're sort of A5-ish size pieces of paper with squares on them. These I did Tea Entangles with Tracy on Tuesday evening. And I go along, Zentangle class. She runs it free because Zentangling, drawing, art, creativity of any kind, is really good for mental, emotional health, for dealing with pain and stress and other things in life. And Zentangle helped her through a difficult time in her life and continues to do so. But that's her story to tell, not mine. And I go along because I'd never been to a Zentangle class, and it's quite interesting to see how different people approach them. So my versions here are not the same as what she showed because I go off on one. This is a part of a tangle pattern called Lunaria, I think it is, and I can't remember the name of the lady who came up with it. I'll try to remember to put it in the link. It actually should have partial auras around each section, but you know me, I'm going to go off on one. I haven't quite finished this one. I don't know whether I will. I also put so you can see the gold at the ends because, well, why not? Shame to be shabby is what I say. These lines here are sort of like the original version in it, and then I had to have some stripy ones. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do black stripes there, but I used chalk pastels to add colour to this one. The pattern around the outside is Nzeppel, and it's the very sort of like, what do you call it? It's not the crazy version, the sort of more wibbly-wobbly version. It's the more structured version, regular kind of pattern, and I do like it. I think that some colour and shade, contrast will bring it out. This was the first one that we did, and I have finished it, and I used chalk pastels for this, and there is some gold. I'll try and get it to glint on the bottom. There we are, bottom section. So this is Flux. I've got no idea what this one is called, but it was a variation on one that I think it's a fragment from the Zentangle primer. And I did two variants on that variation. I've got no idea what this is called, even if it has a name. It's sort of like, I think there was something going to go here and I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was Narfello, I think it was. And I just thought, no, don't want to do that. I want to do something that's got a bit more open, because this is really quite dense in line. And something there. I haven't made a wonderful choice of colour, but I do love the background here, again, chalk pastels. So I just thought I'd show you those, because I'm going to start putting a book together to keep these in, because I'm forever losing them. No surprises there. So let me just get this, because here I want to fill this in, because I have got organic tangles, I've got filler patterns, I've got some randomish patterns, some more geometric kinds of patterns, And here I think I need to put a grid pattern. So my first job is, in this instance, I am going to draw the grid in with pencil, and I want a fairly large series of squares or squarish shapes. And I don't want them to go underneath this. I want to do something different in the background here. So if I draw this line here, it's a natural kind of boundary, and I'll put a double line there. If I turn it this way, I can then, more or less, if I look at this, that's about this line will give me, oops, wobbly squares, but squares. And yet they go underneath, but I can live with that. So that'll work for me. Okay. I could use an 05 for this, but I think I'm going to use an 03. And although I'm going to do a grid tangle, actually, can I? No, actually, I think I am going to split these in half. There, perhaps up there. I'm not worried if it goes through what I've drawn, because I'll be erasing the pencil lines afterwards. What? Don't use erasers in Entangled? Why not? I know it's to encourage you not to get, or to become confident with using pen and to embrace mistakes and so on, but sometimes, it just has to be done. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a grid like this of diamonds. So this is going to be my grid, and if I move in a bit, hang on, the camera, there we go, where are we off? There we are, you can see. So this is going to be my basic pattern. Sometimes I find it difficult to draw lines or pattern, diagonal lines and give me the space I need, but this actually is working out just fine. I most probably could have worked it out on the bigger squares, but my head is still filled with fluff, which I'll tell you about now, because I am being quite open about my journey with my mental and emotional health struggles at this time. Well, not struggles, I'm going to say experiences, because it is an experience, because we have all kinds of experiences in life, and I'm currently experiencing mental and emotional ill health, or So just get this done, it shouldn't take me long. Here I'm sort of guessing about halfway up the square. None of this has to be perfectly perfect. It's hand drawn. My grid is hand drawn. So these little diamonds are going to vary in size and shape just that little bit, and I'm not worried, not one bit. So that's my grid, and if I zoom out again, it does seem to go a long way out, doesn't it? Perhaps if I move my camera down just a little bit, just bear with me as I do that. There we are, it's a bit better, isn't it? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, along each of these lines, I am going to pop in this kind of shape, like a leaf shape. Part one, where there's a part line, full one here. I do want to leave space in the middle of these. So I'm not forgetting that when I come to something, like if there's a potential I could draw over a line that's already there, I just lift the pen up, imagine myself drawing it, put the pen back down where there's the first bit of free space, and off we go again. Even that little bit there, I put a little bit of this corner in, and I will here as well, though there's not much to put in there. And I do need to do this, I don't need to do anything there, that's okay. And I am going to do each one by itself. So, it's been a funny old week. After 2 weeks, I had a review of my antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication. And as I knew it would be, the dose was doubled. So that's had an interesting effect. I'd switched my dose to the morning because I was finding myself really tired through the day, and thought that, and not sleeping well at night, I thought that would help. Well, the opposite has happened with a higher dose. So yesterday I started switching, I made the move to switch things back. So I'm a bit dozy today, and a bit hyper, or very chatty, verbal diarrhea, as some poor person I know who phoned me found out. And I did as well, much to my harumph about it. So it'll take a little while for this to settle down, but it's all to the benefit. The length of time I can focus on things is limited at this time, but I know it will improve, as I've been in this position before. A lot worse, in fact, than I was this time. The last time I needed this medication was, gosh, it's got to be about 12 years ago or so. And I was in a pretty rough state. And I never want to be that ill again. Thank goodness I recognised I was getting that bad sooner rather than letting it get to that point. I'd done all the things I know help me manage things normally. But for me, life isn't normal at the moment, as I'm starting to venture forth from my house to be around people a little bit more often than I have done. And that's part of the reason things have been provoked. So it's good news. You know, I still have my wobbly moments, but they don't last. They don't last. Oh, I've just realised I've put that in the wrong place. No matter. No matter at all. I'm just going to extend that up, and I'll fill this in with a filler pattern. It's fine. Now, no doubt this has a tangle pattern name. I've got no idea what it is, and I'm sure somebody who's more in the know than me will tell me. And I'm more than grateful if you do, so that other people can find it and look for it and use it. So I'm doing this. If it's not exactly centred, if it's a little bit of a wobbly shape, that's fine. Don't panic. Because everything will be fine in the grand scheme of things, honestly. If you want it perfect, you need to either draw it with tools like rulers and protractors and goodness knows what's, or digitally. But I'm happy with it as it is. Now, I quite like this sort of like unfinished edge in some ways, but I do feel that in keeping with the rest of this page, I am going to put a line in, but what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to give them a little lump outwards, a little hump outwards, a little curve upwards on these open edges. Because I just think that, I know that one hasn't, that one's quite flat, but the ones that are that way will trick us into thinking that perhaps the others are. And the other thing I'd like to do with these, as well as tidy up the bits where I haven't joined them up, is to pop inside these a smaller version and colour it black, and even with these ones here, like so. And it may be that these, where I've missed the lumpy bumpy bit out here, I can actually adjust this slightly just to make it a little bit more curved. And I just think that just adds to the regularity of this pattern. And there's something else I think I might do here as well. Regularity. It's not so much regularity, it's more that it feels grounded rather than floating. It feels like it's fixed in place, almost like square nail heads. I'm going to pop one in there because that was without. Just like so. There are so many ways of filling this in between this pattern, this space inside. You know, part of me wants to either put vertical and horizontal lines, or diagonal lines are quite fun, joining those together. But what I want to do is, where we've got all of these rice things joined together, I'm going to put a circle there. Not forgetting the ones on the edge as well. Just covering the ends up, because it'll be the same for each one then. So they might not be identical in size, don't worry. And I wish I could leave a white highlight, but I want to cover all of those lines up. So to put a white highlight back here, I'll use a gel pen once this is completely dried, not before. As if if the pigment is still capable of moving, it can discolour the white. Or I might use a Posca paint pen. Really do need to get a bleed-proof white at some point. I'm going to do one there and one there. Oh, I forgot these ones at the bottom as well. They won't have a bulgy bit on the top of them because we've got this definite break there. But I think I've got every part. So if I move my camera back up, excuse me a moment, that will be this part finished. It's just here I want to put something in the background. And I think for that, I'm going to go hunting through. I've got two pencil cases here because I'm not sure which pencil. Oh, that one will do. Actually, I've got this one here, which may do better. I've got an 01 Unipin pen here. I used an 03 Pigma Micron to do that drawing rather than an 05. Because I knew I'd be getting a lot of lines in a small area, I thought a finer pen would work better than a thicker one. A thicker one would work, but it wouldn't be quite as delicate. An 01 would have been a really fine and delicate, very lacy kind of pattern. So bear that in mind when you choose the thickness of a pen to draw a pattern with. The thickness of line gives a different feel to the pattern you create. Now I do have here a kneadable eraser because there's one that lives on my desk permanently. And I'm just going to erase pencil lines while I'm here. The other reason for me erasing pencil lines here is that I will get rid of any excess pigment in places where I might want to put some white gel. And once you take the pencil lines away, it tidies everything up and suddenly you can see everything that's underneath. So I'm going to have to use something here and here to clean that up, although I'll do it digitally as well, because I can do that. All right, so that looks quite funky. Oh, I've got this border here as well to do, haven't I? Yeah, that could be interesting. Okay, so in this area I'm going to use a grey pen to fill this in with some pattern. And I can see here as I scribble across myself, I'm going to fill that little section in there with black. This little trick I've used for a long time is that sometimes you end up with tiny little spaces that you're not going to be able to fit anything in. Just colour them in black. Like here, you've hardly noticed that I've avoided doing anything there. Up here, I'm just going to go back and fill some of these in because they didn't do a good enough job of getting them all black. All of these. There we go. Okay, so here, the possibilities are endless, but I think that if I was going to do something like Tripoli, which is one of my favourite fillers for spaces, I think it would be quite a complex one to do. I could do a grid pattern, a lot of holly boring, as they call it, you know, sort of like going underneath and so on. It's possible to do. I could use something completely different, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw lots of little spirals. And because I'm using a fine pen, I'm going to make them quite big. Now that may not be very visible, so let me zoom in. You can see it. It's quite visible to my eyes, but not to the camera. So I'm just going to add some more here. And I'm going to put another one here. This is the Entangled pattern print on, which is spring in Francais. And yeah, I know it's a terrible pronunciation of Francais, but I've never been very good at languages. Though I am learning Welsh extremely slowly. And I know I now need Welsh classes in person, but I'm going to have to wait to the autumn, I think, because the classes that are available at the moment are at times of the week that I can't go to them, online or in person even. Not that I'm thrilled about going, or, you know, overly excited about the prospect of going in person. I know I need to speak the language to learn the lessons more. So Duolingo is great. I'm learning vocabulary and some grammar and so on. But because I'm not using it in speech, I'm not getting that fluency. Vocabulary, yes, but sometimes not. So I really do need that kind of lesson to speak Welsh and understand it. And the opportunity to practice and practice and practice. Because it does take me a while for new things to sink in. I do have to say, that's one thing about Duolingo is they constantly revise various sort of verbs, tenses, words. So you're not left without having gone over them for a while. It's always constantly being refreshed and added to, you know, as well as being added to. So, yeah, and Owen is still obsessed with parsnips. Could you not? Even to the point that he's now building a bridge to reach his parsnips. It's one of the funny features of Duolingo Welsh. Owen and his blessed parsnips. Little gap there. I'm not going to try and put anything in there. I'm just going to fill it in with black. And it won't look out of place when I've finished. This one's big enough to fit some in. And I am varying the size of them as well. There's no harm in doing that whatsoever. As they say, variety is the spice of life, and variety is the spice of Zentangle, and Entangled art and drawing in general. I'm not going to get visual intelligence and art. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. I think there's a lot being talked about that isn't quite based in the reality of what it is. And you still need a human to tell the artificial intelligence what to create, and you have to teach the artificial intelligence different art styles and genres from existing artists, or, you know, ones that you can have access to their art. So the feeling is that the art's all going to end up looking pretty samey in many ways. At the moment, whether it ever will, creativity isn't explainable yet. And imagination, and so on. So I wonder if there's a lot of bigging up AI, because it can only do what you teach it to do, what you can program it to do. And how can you program creativity and imagination and uniqueness and individuality when we don't even know how that can be modelled and programmed? Because art is a very unique and individual response of a human towards some kind of stimulus, whether it's a visual stimulus, emotional, imagination, dreams, or even trying to convey sight and sound, smell and touch into a form that others might get a taste of what you're experiencing. And, you know, you look at Entangled, for example, and all the ways... Oh, sorry, gone the wrong way there. Look at all the ways that people draw different patterns, how you can often tell by somebody's particular drawing style that it's theirs, that it's yours. You may draw this, you may copy what I'm doing almost exactly, but it won't be exact, because you'll do things your own way. You will make judgments for yourself of how big squares should be, how many of these you want to do. I don't like that pattern, I'm going to swap it with this. That one's a bit tough for me to do, so I'll do this instead. Your muscles work your own way. They're unique to you. The way that you hold a pen, the choice of pen you have, the choice of paper you work on, the colours you add, how you add shade or light. These are all personal choices that express who we are. Learning to art is learning how to express that unique individuality. And yeah, there are lots of us working in this kind of genre, in this kind of way. This isn't the only art I do, as you've seen from my sketchbooks. And if you look at the adult colouring books that I do, this is a big part of it, this kind of work, these kinds of patterns, but it's put together in a way that maybe not it's uniquely mine, because you can tell that's an Angela Porter, that is, which is why people alert me when my artwork's been stolen. Because they go, Angela, is this yours? It really looks like yours. I go, yeah, it is mine. Knew it was. Well, so-and-so's been using it and passing it off as their own. And you're there going, great, okay, you know. But it's part and parcel of it. I love stylized art. I love looking at the essence of something and simplifying it or stylizing it. So you create that, but then I like adding things to it to turn it into something new and different. I like using my imagination. I like drawing on patterns and colours and shapes and forms and textures that I find fascinating. And although I may use some, I may go through a phase where I've got a favourite pattern, a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years down the line, I'll go, oh, I really don't like this anymore. It doesn't do it for me, but that one really does. And it's that constant change and evolution. Eventually I might go back to that pattern I used to love. But it's always exploring and finding out what is you, what you like. And that can change from moment to moment. From what mood you're in, what time of year it is, what's going on in your life. So many things can influence what we put on paper or ink or digitally or sculpt or carve or create with mixed media. And everybody has a voice to share in this. And although AI can replicate art, can create wonderful pieces of art, will there come a time that AI can express those parts of what make us human? Don't know. If we don't know why we feel these ways, we can understand it in terms of chemicals and mechanisms, but how do you program that? How do you tell the machine what to do, basically? It comes down to consciousness and being self-aware and being able to have that imagination. Will that ever happen? I hope not, because it's a scary thought. Not in terms of humanity, but in other things, in some ways. But we're not there yet. So, this is now done as far as drawing's concerned. I need to consider, no it's not, because I was going to do some pattern here, wasn't I? So it's partly done. Yeah, I know. I have my moments, don't I? I want to decide what to do with this, because I'm not really sure at the moment how I would like to approach this. I can see a pattern that's calling to me here, mind you. But I'm not sure whether I want to put another geometric pattern there or whether I want to put something quite simple there. I know what, you see, I do love, is it doodah? This pattern here. I do love that. But I know there are other things that will go in here that I would equally find rather enchanting and lovely. And then I'm thinking, well, could I morph them from one into another? It's possible, I could. Have I got any hearts here? Oh yeah, I've got some hearts over there. I haven't got any stars though. So I could fill this with black and put white stars in there. That could be quite nice, actually. I'm very tempted with that. That would be quite nice. I'm undecided, so I'm going to put this to one side. Okay? I will. So what I think I'll do, because I've got a little bit of time, and, you know, we're half an hour in. I've talked about AI even though I wasn't going to. You know, I doubt anybody's going to go to AI and say, can you create me this in the style of Angela Porter? You're not big enough or well known enough for such a thing to occur, I'm sure. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of this paper. I also need my glasses, because I'm not blind as a bat without them, but I really don't see very well. So I've just got this Dilutions wobbly ruler. I think it's called a journaling block, which has a few lines on it that you can use to measure distances out, which I actually really like in many ways, because I don't have to make too many choices and remember, now how many squares up was it? Or measure out distances, because it'll be near enough on each one. And I'm all for near enough. And I know that where the mushrooms are, I need to leave some space. And this actually works out that the line I used to make this gap here, if I put the second line down here, that first line rests on top of the mushrooms. So that is perfect. How about that? Okay, let's have a look at some of these, because I've got some nice patterns going on here. I'll do this one. I'll do some of these and we'll see what happens. Does that sound a good idea? I'm sure it does. Okay, so I'll take this one first because it is relatively easy to do, and I am going to use, I've got an 05 here, but I think it's a really cruddy one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw in a few wavy lines that they don't need to nest. In fact, did I make them? I think I did make them. Yeah, but they don't have to be a perfect kind of, same distance apart. It's okay if they get closer together and you know, further apart as you go along. It'll all work itself out. I think I need a couple more than just 3. And perhaps one more on this side. They're about roughly equal size, but we'll do this one. Okay, like that. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to draw on these. I'll just zoom in again. There we go. I'm going to choose places where I'd like to put a kind of leaf shape in. So I'm going to start at the middle here, like so. And I've put this in, but I haven't touched it up to this line. I've left a gap there. I want a gap. Okay. And then I'm going to draw a series of smaller ones of these inside, like so, and perhaps one more there. And these I'm going to shade in black, white here, but then the other side of this will be white, black, and so on. You get the idea. So I'm going to put some more in, and I am going to draw them so they connect. In this instance, you don't have to, you can leave a gap between them. But I've chosen my starting point here, so and then I'm going to draw smaller versions inside. I may not have as many on each one because of the way, you know, the size we've got inside, the area we've got inside, but that's fine. I'm more interested in the black, white patterning because it will work out no matter what we do. So if we always start with black on one side or white on one side, the other side will always work out to be the opposite. So you don't need to stress about such things. Now then, for the next leaves, I want them to sort of bulge up into these sections here in between them. So that might mean I do leave a bit of a longer gap between them now, but we can manage that. Like so. So I'm drawing these shapes in before I fill these in with the smaller shapes. I've done a good job here, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add another layer there so I can get that in there, that in there, and that one here. So on this one I've actually got lines joining together at, you know, in places, you know, towards the ends, and that's fine. In fact, that's a nice variation, is when you start from there and draw them out. So instead of starting a little bit away with the next Artwyrd shape, you draw the lines from the point of the leaf there. So let's have a look. So here is my next leaf. There. If you draw the shapes in one at a time, you'll always have the same number on both sides of the line. Can't fit anything in along there, but I can here. This is going to be a very narrow leaf on this side, so you may not get more than, I don't know, I think I can squish another one in there, make that one much bigger. You do what you can with the space you've got, is the key here. So here we'll have one going there, one there, one there, and one there. I'm sorry if I went off the screen then. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. I do apologise. Okay. So if I zoom out, you'll get an overview of it now. You can see what I'm doing. Just being careful always when I draw this side of the leaf in that I leave a gap between them, because I will flood that area with colour in some form or another, I think. That's okay. And then this will be the last one then. Now if I wanted a nice neat side here, I can just draw one side of these, which I think I might do, just to remind myself this is something that can be done. And I might actually pop another line in on the other side so I can do the same thing. On that side. It's a very unusual looking leaf, but you know, it is what it is. Maybe that drawing the other side in would make more sense of it. But you get this definite edge then, which I can aura, because I do like to put an aura in where one pattern ends and another one begins, usually. And perhaps I'll put an aura around this one, because there are two ways then of finishing this pattern off. And I am going to just cap this end while I'm here, and this one, because I know I'll want to have a line along here. And so that's this pattern. I guess it's a variation of Narfellow in its own weird way. But I don't know whether there's another pattern. Right, I am thirtling through my pens here because I am looking for I have got one of those, but I know I've got a black Pit Artist pen somewhere, brush pen, there, rather than one of my Fudenasuki pens. So I'll start with black on this side, so I'm going to go black, white, black, and then black in between. I'll always do a black on this side. Though if I'd done a white here and kept whites on all this side, this section here could be filled in with black. Just saying. So it'll be another way of dealing with this, or with pattern, a dense pattern like tipple or cross hatching or some such. That would work as well. So we've got ones like this. Right, that's the outside of this leaf, so this leaf is here, so we'll do this one. Having a pen like this in your pen box, and there are many kinds of brush pens out there. I do believe Sakura do one in a Pigma Micron, but it just helps you fill in large spaces so much more quickly and effortlessly. Always use the right tool for the job. There we go. So I'll do this one here. And I am not going to finish doing them all, because this is really like watching ink dry. But you'll get the idea of how this builds up. So, the only problem with the brush pens is that you need quite good motor control or pressure control of the pen to get the really fine point. Something I struggle with them, because I'm very heavy-handed with pens. I said I was going to stop, didn't I? Just feel I need to do a couple more to get, so you can see how this will work. Okay, I'll do this, just this last one here. Find if I outline the area with a thick line first, then I can fill it in a lot quicker and more easily. Oh, have I done wrong here then? Ah, I'm being an idiot for a moment, talking and not thinking. And if I go over the lines or just inside the lines with a thicker line, then you can actually fill the rest of it in really quite quickly. So it does save a lot of time. Imagine how long it would take you to fill these in with an 01. Imagine the number of nibs you'll wreck, if you're like me. I won't get very far, I tell you. Of course, I could have chosen any colour to do this in. I've chosen black and white because I do like the very graphic nature. And on the one that I showed you, the original one, I really, really do love the way that the colour pops everything up. I'll show you it again in a moment. Really doesn't take that long. I said I wasn't going to bore you with it, but it looks like I'm going to. If you go outside the lines, you just adjust them. Nobody's going to know. Just don't tell them. They won't know, honest. Seriously, they won't. They're all just happy little accidents because they're what makes your work unique as well. And yeah, I do vary how I fill spaces in. I get very bored very quickly with doing the same thing over and over, so I tend to switch things around. For variety, so my brain doesn't get bored with it. I know that doing things in the same way in a very repetitive, rhythmic kind of way can be very soothing for you and so on, but my brain seems to go to sleep. I go on autopilot sometimes, and autopilot leads me in directions I didn't expect. So by changing up, I keep my focus going, but I still feel very relaxed while I do it. Okay. This will be black there. This would look better if I had more repetition or more sort of like the more auras of the leaf inside, the layers inside here, but I think it works either way. I mean, I've drawn mine quite big and bold. There we are. Oh, I've only got these left to do. Well, we'll do that because there's only half leaves here. I'm not very happy with this, so I'm going to change the shape somewhat. See if I can just get something that's a bit more leaf-like going on here. Even if I do make a very clunky black layer on the outside, I can live with a clunky black layer on the outside. So it is an enormous half leaf, isn't it? It's not perfect. It'll do though. These Pit Artist plens, I don't know what plens are. Tell you what, I may have verbal diarrhea, but blimey, my mouth and brain are not in gear. Not perfect, but I'm not too worried. I think I'm tangling around the bushes. There we go. All right, so that will do. And that's this first pattern. Now then, what I think I'll show you that. And you can see the difference the colour in the background makes to bring these shapes out. So let me have a look how long. Oh, 50 minutes. Let me do this with you, because I almost feel I could do this. Which way would I like this? I think this feels like they should be growing out here, so let's do that. We find that 5. So what I'm going to do is, yeah, I will do it. I'm going to start down here and I'm just going to draw a curved line for the main stem. I'm stopping my stem a little bit close here because, as you know, oh, we're going to have to go up a bit. There, sorry. Oh, wobbly or what? There we go. I don't mind going outside the pencil lines. They're only a guide to tell me, don't go too far past this, Angela. This is, you know, this is where you want the border of your image. So at the bottom here, I'm just adding some ink to thicken the line there so it feels like it's more solid and more grounded. Then at the top here, I'm just going to pop on a kind of oval shape like this. And then the original way of adding pattern here, Tracy was saying, is to flick your pen so you get a thin line. I'm going to do mine in pairs. Actually, I'm going to do this all the way down the side. I'm putting a line with a couple of dots at the end and I'm curving the line subtly. So this looks like it's more in shadow, and to help with that feeling of this side being more in shadow, I'm just going to thicken the ends of these lines in a way that accentuates the curve of these lines, like so. So that gives me a feeling that is very much in shadow this side. I've also thickened the line here, where this joins, as if there's a join here. So I now want a branch coming off. So I've drawn a little bit up the line and then allowed this to come away. I'm going to add a tiny bit of ink there and I'm going to draw another one of these. Oh, I've forgotten something. On the top, a line. So I started off full pressure and then I allowed the pressure to fade a little bit, and then I'm going to add a little bit of line weight there. Again here, just like that. And with this one, I'm going to add some stripes. And again, I'm bending these lines. I'm not making them flat. You see that they're bent. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do some black stripes. So my head is going dum da 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 dum 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 da 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 da. White stripes. Music. I know. Welcome to my weird world, my brain. Quick connection made. Oh, it sounds like white stripes. We've got white stripes as well. Oh, yeah. Dum, da, da. Yeah, there we are. So that is a different way of drawing one of these. So we could have a little branch here, which I think would be quite cute. And I think I'll put a baby one there. Little sproutling. And then this one, I'm just going to pop a circle here with a line like that at the top. And I am going to thicken this side, and I'm going to do that over here as well. I'm going to give the left-hand side and bottom of these shapes a little bit more line weight, just to help with that feeling that they're further away, they're in deep shadow. So we can branch these in this kind of way. I'm going to have a branch coming off here. Now, these are all nicely oval in shape, and there are lots of other ways of adding patterns, but what happens if we just change the shape a little bit? Like so. More of an egg shape. It would work. We could stripe it like this, we could add patterns like this, we could put a circle on it like that, and at the top I'm going to put something a little bit different than the spike. You put that there. And perhaps for this one, I'll put some lines in a bit like this, perhaps a small one there. Again, I'm going to make the left and the bottom of these shapes that little bit thicker. And then I think in this one, in these, I'll fill them with that classic perk. Which will give a different feel to these, as if we've got ball bearings in tracks going around these, or perhaps seeds. Which is all a lot of fun. Like so. It's very heavy, that one. It is a heavy one. But if I get it's my O1. So I'm going to add a little curved line at the base of the ones underneath the centre one and the centre one itself. The top ones I'm going to put a broken line just above these here, because there would be shadow there. And then that adds to that. You can add the shadow again with graphite or anything else you wish, but I'm putting it in with pen. Okay, so if we can have that kind of shape, we can also have circular shapes. Again, let's thicken the stalk, add a bit of line weight there. Didn't add the line weight there. At the top here, I'm going to add 2 of them, and perhaps one just sticking out the top, so we've got something that looks a bit like a little spray or a little set of feathers. And then in here, I'm going to pop another circle in. You add some line weight to the bottom of this, and then to the bottom of this, and then I'm going to add petals here as if we've got a flower inside a bubble. And if you want to, you can add a stem there as well. So it looks like that flower is connected in some way there. So that's quite fun. Quite like that. What? A triangle shape? Yep. What can I do with this? Well, I'm going to put lines like this in. Perhaps a single seed there. And just finish this off in this kind of way. Like so. And here we've got a tiny little seed-like thing just sprouting off, which again looks really quite cute. And here we could have just a circular shape, perhaps with just a single one of those there. I'm not going to try and draw one of those there, that would be silly. But you get the idea. And this is how I play with ideas. I'll change the shape, the pattern, just give myself some starting points. I really like this one. I've not used that shape before. That'll be going in my book. I'll be saving this anyway, so I like that. That's interesting. And if I put a dot there, that adds some more interest to it. And here we could add some dots that complete that as well. Okay, so one more. Make it leaf shaped. I'll put an aura inside, because an aura makes everything look better apparently. Split that in half. Now I've got choices here. I could turn this into a leaf. I could, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a line there. Then on this side, I'm going to have a seed tucked under that. Does look a bit like an eyelid, but it's not meant to. Perhaps just add some more of these on this side. Suggest that a seed pod is half open and we can see inside it. That actually works quite nicely. If I get a finer pen, because I've got a very tiny space here, but with an 01, I can fit just another line in there, which adds that texture and stops it looking too much like an eye, doesn't it? So that works nicely. And then here, I'll put a leaf shape like that, just to finish that off. And on this side then here, trying to think what other shapes we can have. I mean, we could go into the ridiculous almost, but let's go to almost a square. It's more of a diamond shape, but it works. There we go. And then for this one, ooh, let's do this. I think I'll put an aura in first though. I'm going to turn this into a little seed. Could have done with putting an aura around it, but it is what it is now. I'll use my 03 pen to put some lines in, and this is the fragments that can become well, like so. And then I'll use the 01 to aura these lines behind the lines I've just drawn. So I put this line in, so I'm moving the next line towards this. I could fill in each section completely, but I quite like it just as it is there. And any shading or colour I add will bring out some dimension there. It's my 05. I wish they made these with colour-coded lids or something, so you know which one is which without fussling around. Okay, on the end, I am going to pop on kind of seed. I think this is called caviar in Entangled terms. And then I'm adding a little leaf there this time. And then here at the bottom, just going to change the shape of this a little bit so it looks more like a trunk. I'm going to add some leaves, and I'm going to do my leaves like this. So I've drawn a kind of hook shape, or a upside down J. Upside down, yeah. And then from the point of the J, I'm going to create an arc curve that goes back towards that line. Not to the point at the top, but a bit further down. And then I'm going to judge about how wide this will be, and I'm going to join that to the bottom like so. Again, I'm going to add line there and there, and I'll use my 01 just to add in some pattern like that. I have got just about enough space on this side for a small one, so that's what I'll do. And again, I'll use my 01 to add some line there and interest. For this one, I'm going to add dots to it just to add some shadow. And on this one, I'm going to add some flicked lines on the darker side. This one I'm adding a fair amount of little dots towards the bottom. This one I think I might scatter some little dots around the bottom of this and towards this side, quite densely, and then just the odd one on the lighter side, like so. And I'm just going to flick some lines in my flower there. Perhaps just put another little circle in the middle just to bring that out. I also think I want to add some line weight to these petals just to give them some volume. Again, it's to the left and the bottom. I was drawing in a sketchbook yesterday at some point, and I decided I didn't want the picture oriented as it was. So I then had to swap to doing, instead of left and bottom, to right and bottom, I think it was. Confusion reigned, I tell you. You get used to one way, you do it automatically, you don't think too hard. But there's quite a few versions of this lunaria, and my lunaria is a version of the original one, because I say this would have an aura that would go around here and up here, and it would stop at the end, it wouldn't connect. So it would go from one side around, down, up to here, and then around. And I think it can make really pretty, patterns with auras and filling in patterns around it and so on. But yeah, not me particularly. Okay, so I could fill in more examples of this, which I might do, because I do like it when it's put like this, and you can see how much smaller I've drawn this one, so I can get more ideas in. And these aren't the be all and end all of the ideas. My head is swimming with them now, but I'm over an hour, and I'm going to leave this one here. I'm going to leave, where is it? It's over here somewhere, isn't it? This, which we've done, and this one I'll have poking out. Perhaps poking like that, so you can see it. Trying to get an image now, you see, for the... Oh, you can see my tummy, that's not good. Never good when you can see my tummies. There we go, so we've got an image there of these, and you can see what I've done. So thank you for joining me, thank you for putting up with my burbling, my whittering on, my tangling around the bush, as it were, and I hope you can gain something from this. Hopefully I'll be back soon. Bear with me though, as I've explained, life is interesting at the moment until various medications all settle down. So until I see you again, take care. Look after yourselves, be kind to yourselves, be gentle to yourselves, and find time to be creative. Ta-ta for now. Bye.